Expecto Patronum! It's my favorite spell. What else is there? Stupefy! I remember when Harry Potter came out. Well, not in the theaters, I was too young. But I do remember it coming out on DVD. And it was like one of the coolest movies I've ever seen. I was probably only... Feels like I can't remember before or much after like being about 10-ish years old. I don't know why. But I had the DVD. I didn't have it, my step family had it at the time. But it was a collector's edition DVD, super fancy. The packaging, it opened up into 4 sections. And like disc 1, 2, 3, 4 is clear in the casing, the plastic. The whole thing, it was like a book. Obviously, I'm sure that was probably the intention, considering the books. But that one movie, because like everyone has like a stack of movies at their house. And that was probably my favorite one at the time. There's a few good ones, but that one in particular, I couldn't look away, I couldn't stop. It was, Harry Potter was hot. I also got, from my stepfamily's grandparents, there was like a Harry Potter sorcery magic potion set. And that thing was so cool, like, just making potions as a kid, it was science, it was all bubbly and colors and mixtures, and it was so cool. It was old school. I doubt you can find those now. I don't know, especially the packaging, the DVD. To find stuff like that nowadays, forget it, but yeah, I was a fan instantly. And especially because it was, you know, you're dealing with step family and stuff, and I think that movie was definitely, considering the family aspects of it all, like, Harry didn't know his parents. And, it was a confusing time for me, but it was there for me. Probably more than any other movie or any other thing at the time. And it was fun. Like, I remember Yu-Gi-Oh! Coming out around the same time. It was a magical time to be alive and experience this movie that started from something so small and became all these other movies years later. And I never got into the books. I tried reading Sorcerer's Stone, I think, Chamber of Secrets, one of them. And I just couldn't get into it. I'm just not much of a reader. But obviously that is where a lot of this came from, was the books. But considering how grand the movies are and the scale and epicness of the movies, I mean, if I had to miss out on the books, I definitely don't mind, because the movies are plenty for me. I didn't think I'd be still watching Harry Potter years later, growing up with it, just like so many people have. It really stuck its way in just as much as Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Things like that, basically. On that scale, yeah, those are about the only 3 things I can think of that came as far as it did. And things definitely aren't the same today. You know, these franchises you can't replace. Even the Fantastic Beasts, those are good too. Those are right. But they don't, obviously, they still, even after the few movies they have come out with, they still don't hold a candle over the original. I mean, what's there not to like? There's Daniel Radcliffe.
Hello there.
he's my favorite. He's a big inspiration for me. The Chosen One, the Golden Child, the boy who lived. Even after all the tough times you've been through, the step family was a big one because that was hard for me to deal with as well, and I kind of got to see that through another person's eyes and perspective, and in this old TV box. I was like, hey, I'm not alone. It's not just me. You know, maybe I can grow up to be Harry one day. Maybe I can be this leader and this figure of power and responsibility, and he's just a good, genuine, all-around guy. He gets the girls, he gets the friends, he's got skills. What's there not to like? And I look up to a lot of guys like that. Luke Skywalker in particular. Just kind of the people who... And it's a common archetype of hero. But you'd be surprised how common it is to relate to someone like that, reflecting that kind of role from your own life as well. And I think that was one of the first times I realized, like, hey, this guy gets me. I can relate to him. He understands me as much as I understand him. And the character was just done so well, because you're at that age where if you were a kid when Harry Potter first came out, you're gonna look at it very differently than when you were an adult and it came out. You're just not gonna absorb it and see it the same at all. So I'm really fortunate to have grown up in the time that I did and got to see Harry at his best. And it's not like I'm watching the movies from start to finish all these years later, like as like today's generation would be. It just won't hit them the same, but I'm sure they enjoy it just as much, right? Who doesn't know about Harry Potter? Who doesn't love it? Who doesn't like it? No matter what age you are, who you are, you're gonna relate to it somehow. I mean, you can't deny its absolute power. It's the only thing of its kind, really, that's done it to such a caliber of the special effects, the characters, the settings, the music. It's in a league all of its own, and you can't beat that. You just can't. It's one of those franchises, like, even Star Wars is one thing, just for a comparison. Like, there's so many things that either try to replicate Star Wars, but maybe in more of like a comedic sense. Because things like this, you just cannot replicate. You can't make this up. You can't replicate it at all. It is what it is. And that's all it's ever gonna be. And nothing can change that. And that says a lot about a human too, looking at this franchise as an anchor to be like, hey, I can make it, I can do it, I can strive, I can get through life. If he can do it, I know I can too. And I think as a young man especially, that's very important. And obviously there's enough characters in there to, no matter if you're a girl or a guy or young or old, you're gonna be able to look at somebody in this series and see things from an inner light that you might not have been able to otherwise. Which is always nice, because there's only so many movies you can really do that with. I mean, you got action movies, you got comedy, you got all kinds of genres, and there's billions of movies. But how often of them are you able to really grasp something and take something out of it? Like, actually though, especially something so long-running and solid and concrete. And that has been so for how many years now? I mean, I'm almost 30 myself, and I mean, Harry Potter is still technically going. Granted, it's moved on to the Fantastic Beasts, but still. And considering how old I was when it came out to now, it's like, wow, nothing's really... I mean, it's still going. That's good. I love seeing that, like, a franchise can live on and it doesn't die out, and Star Wars is doing the same thing. Lord of the Rings, yes. Those are the only ones that have made it. There was other big things out there at the time, like Twilight and, well, other than what I've mentioned, Twilight's about the only other one that I didn't say, but yeah, big things. And I mean, you don't still see Twilight doing anything today, right? Harry Potter also just recently had that anniversary show on HBO, and that was great, seeing them all grown up, reminiscing about the past, all the nostalgia. I actually rewatched the series, all the movies, not completely back to back because I've seen them so many times, but I just had them on again recently. And what sparked that even was the anniversary. Just seeing that again was like a big reminder of like, hey, I'm still here. I still exist. You know, whether or not things turned out the way I wish that they did, or whoever maybe have even thought the exact same things. The movies are still going, and it's a great reminder of like, you know, it's not over yet, it's not done. If there are still dreams or goals or things I want to accomplish, having these movies still breathe air and are very much alive is part of what can keep a person going. Like, no matter what anyone has been through, it's just a very therapeutic movie to me. It's I don't really look at it quite as like, hey, I'm a super fan. You know, I grew up with it, I read all the books. I'm a very casual fan, but I can appreciate it on my very own level of... just the fact that it's a thing is great. Because if I didn't make it myself, I'm glad someone else did. J.K. Rowling, or Rowling, however you say your name. Yeah, she definitely deserves the credit that she's been given. Whether or not she actually likes the movies or not, I mean, hey, what can you do? I'd be thankful if I made a book and it got made into a movie. I'd be great. I'd be like, hey, I did something right, you know, that's all anyone can do. But aside from the inspiration stuff and keeps me motivated, if it wasn't for the supporting cast, it wouldn't be what it is. I mean, I had a crush on Emma Watson for how long now?
Hello, I'm Emma Watson.
And yeah, at that young age, I don't know exactly. I don't look into this stuff too much, Google, Wiki, all that, but our ages could not have been very far off at the time. And wow, she's probably one of the most gorgeous girls I have ever seen. Like, when I think about my girl crushes back then, Emma's the first one that comes to mind. I had a little bit of an obsession. And I mean, honestly, who didn't, right? Come on. Especially seeing her grow up throughout the films, holy shit. She got hot. She's gorgeous. She still looks just as amazing today as she would have years ago. She doesn't age a day. Well, she does, obviously, but like, she doesn't... It's like she reached this really nice point and just never stopped aging. Which, you know, celebrities and stuff, hey, it happens, right? But God, she's so... I've seen her, and it's weird too, because every time I see her in other stuff, other movies, especially Spring Breakers. It was very off-putting. I was like, dude, little cute, adorable Hermione, she's a full-grown woman now. There's no denying that. And as much as I love Harry and all that, I look at him as like, yeah, he's grown up, he's a man, he's got a beard, all these things. He looks very different as well today. But seeing Hermione was like, dude, she isn't a little girl anymore, and neither am I. I mean, we're both very much adults now, and that's another thing, is the whole inspiration, like, imagine a girl like that, just the most graceful, majestic, epic woman ever. Even in all these other movies that she does, which aren't obviously as good. I know Daniel's done other movies since then as well, and it's pretty weird. And there's always something off about these movies too, like they don't quite add up, but they're given the roles anyways because they're so big, but that's the one thing they had going for them was Harry Potter, and we do all these other jobs which I kind of feel bad aren't. They're no Harry Potters, but just the fact that they're still working, they still get these jobs is great. But yeah, I'm really glad Emma's still doing stuff. She still looks great. Makes me happy as a fan since the beginning to see them still alive and living life just as much as me. It's good. You know, a lot of big, powerful actors and that are still doing very well today, and that's something that I have a hard time taking out of it as well, is that all they had to do at the time, granted it was a big thing, but was Harry Potter. It was one thing. You know, to be known for one thing is very tough, because that doesn't ever leave you. Especially if you're wanting to explore more things of life, whether it's a hobby or other movie roles or other interests or jobs. It's kind of tough in that way. But who can forget the best friend, Ron Weasley?
Hi, I'm Rupert Grint.
I really see a lot of myself in Harry because, okay, we don't wear glasses. I don't have a scar. We both have jet black hair. Both, you know, decent looking guys. And it felt like, I think a lot of people can relate that you feel like the world's your oyster. You're on a pedestal. Everything's kind of given to you, handed to you. Whether you have to go through hard times to get the few things that you do appreciate in life or not, or whatever it may be, like there's a catch to everything. And I think he was part of the big reason that made me see that at first. But Ron, you know, like I see Harry in a way, I see him in me, I see Emma as like that dream girl, I see Ron as maybe not the one best friend I've always had my whole life or something, but I see him in a little bit of everyone that I've ever known. All the best friends I've had throughout time. Mostly school, yeah. After school. But just that one guy you can depend on, that one dude that's always there, that one you could talk to about whatever, hang out. He's great. He's funny as fuck, too. Most of my friends were hilarious. They cracked me up. Like, to have friends to laugh with is a big deal. But just that trifecta of Ron, Hermione, Harry. I mean, dude, it's full circle, full triangle, really. But he's great. I love Ron. Who doesn't love Ron? It's so cool too that like there's enough in each of the characters to relate to most people. A lot of people are gonna be like, hey, I can identify with Emma, I can identify with Ron, Harry, let alone the entire cast throughout the years, especially the ones that have been there since day one. you know, there's a lot of people who actually passed away. According to the kind of spoilers, but it's been out for so long now. The anniversary movie special, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people passed away. The only one I knew about, which I was shocked to see how many there actually was by the end of that movie, yeah. But the only one I was aware of was Dumbledore. I really liked Dumbledore in 1. Was it 1 and 2? I don't remember, but yeah, ever since Dumbledore changed roles, it was weird. He didn't have that softness, and like, I understand it had to be done. The first movie wouldn't have been what it was without him, but at the same time, maybe it's just unfortunate, but because I've never had grandparents as well, and that's just another, like, family is huge. And I really could have looked at Dumbledore like that grandpa I never had, really, or, you know, like, gave me advice that stuck around. The only person, even after they replaced him, that stuck by him and never left his side, never gave up on him, always supported him after everything he's been through. If I could have had someone like that having my back then, that would have been great. You know, because you're not always going to be able to depend on your parents or whoever it may be, so having that kind of support would have been really cool, and I'm glad Harry had that. I think that was an important part of his growth and him becoming the good that dispelled the evil. The savior, you know, who doesn't want to save the world and bring peace and light and prosperity and just all these good things. And in his world, in that universe, he did just that. And granted, it's a book, it's all fake, it's all fictional. It's not real. In my mind it is, though. In my head it is. In my imagination, my belief, my creativity, my aspect, perspective, all that. It's real. If it was made from someone, it's real. It exists out there in somewhere in some alternate dimension. In JK's mind, it became whole enough to exist in people's heads. And this is where things happen. This is where things come alive. Out of the brain, out of the body, into the world, into the ether, the universe. And that's one thing, unfortunately, a lot of parents might not understand, is that, especially a kid's imagination, is a very big thing. Let alone a young adult. And I just feel bad for, like, my parents, for example, because they weren't able to kind of grow up with these things necessarily the way that I did. You know, the type of movies and things that they got were very, very different. The stuff you get today, it's different, but it's more or less the same. Just because it's such a modern age right now, but I mean, granted, they had some stuff, but did they have Harry Potter? Absolutely not. And I think not only can I speak for myself, but my whole generation, you know, it was movies like this that really, I think, made a lot of great people who became dreamers and, you know, looked at the world from a much more magical perspective, and not everything has to be so realistic and kind of hard and fake, and there's anything's possible. The fact that we're even here is something short of some sort of miracle. So just the magic aspect of it all, just, you never know what'll happen any day. Whether it's your own life, your success, your love life, anything can happen. And this show is something that'll definitely give you that message. And I don't think I would look at half the things today. I'm glad it became a part of me. It made me into who I am. Because if not, I would be looking at things from a very dull. If I was anyone else, I don't think I'd like that. I'm really proud of who I became, and it was this movie who helped me do that. Movies. They're all great. Sorcerer's Stone was great. The Philosopher's Stone. I know they call it Philosopher's Stone in the UK or something. Whatever, dude. It's the same. Come on, same thing. Sorcerer sounds fucking sweet, okay? Chamber of Secrets is great. I love the basilisk, the tongues. The apostle tongue. It's weird because I also watched it was like a trivia thing on HBO again, Warner Brothers, that it was like a competition between all the houses: Slytherin, Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw. I had to think of the last one. And it was really good, but there was a lot of fans on there who I could tell were real fans, sure, but I was surprised to watch that and actually know as much as I did myself. I didn't know as much as they did, sure, but I also didn't study it. I don't watch these movies and study every little thing, because I just try to enjoy it for the entertainment. But especially when you have the movies to go along with the books, sure, you're gonna really know what you're doing. I mean, it's an obsession for people. The costume parties, the Halloween. I had a little wand. It was like a collectible thing that I got from Walmart. That thing was pretty cool. I don't remember whose wand it was, actually. It might have been Harry's. And obviously it wasn't the Elder Wand, but hey. Oh well, what are you gonna do? They even had, at that same time, I think, they even had full-on toy. They probably still do full-on toys of like the wands of all the different people, like Ron's wand, Hermione's, and all that. It's pretty cool. I love seeing all the merchandise. I go to an entertainment store. There's a whole Harry Potter little shelf thing full of like badges and pins and stickers and lanyards, and I love seeing it. It's great. May not be as relevant today as it used to be, but a lot of people still like it. And it's kind of unfortunate that Fantastic Beasts is such a comparable thing to it, because there's 3 movies in there now where it's definitely enough to like make it comparable to the original. But as much as those movies are still keeping it alive, the unfortunate side effect is that it's always going to make the original movies just look better, which is probably part of the point of these newer movies as well. Imagine seeing Harry in one of these newer movies. That would be insane. Because they revamped all the characters, everything. You don't get a shed of light from the characters. You can include the magical creatures and the settings, all these things. Even seeing Hogwarts and stuff again is pretty cool. But man, the characters, that for me, for any show, any movie, that's what makes it or breaks it for me. It's the most important part. Without characters, you don't have a lot. There's nothing to really go off of. Yeah, there's also Prisoner of Azkaban. I actually really like that one, because that's when... I'll give a little brief summary about the movies, but I mean, everyone's seen them. They're great. But yeah, that's when it got really dark. 1 through 3 are pretty much my favorite. I mean, I don't know, like beyond that is kind of like, it's kind of rough. But granted, 4, The Goblet of Fire, oh, dude, I have a special spot for that one, because that's kind of when they were basically grown up teenagers at that point. And that was an interesting time for myself as well, growing up. There's Tom Riddle, Voldemort, who I actually related to quite a bit. Kind of like that dark side, the light side of Harry, the balance, good and evil. You know, because I think growing up, just being alive, just being a kid, whatever it may be, there's always going to be that dark side that really peers in on you. And yeah, I was like, dude, I couldn't feel more like Harry and Tom. Like, I felt like a hybrid of the two. And it was interesting to see that, because you don't quite look at it the same way as like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader per se, right? Because it's just a different kind of bloodline there going on. Different. But seeing these two kids, granted they weren't both kids at the same time, whatever, but they went through very opposite lives. And it's you got to remember that, like, people out there, there's more that exists than myself. There's other people out there living their lives as well, and you want to help them and make sure they're okay and don't wind up essentially like Voldemort, right? So that was another reason why I wish I could do more. And it's kind of a burden. It's hard, but you see where things go, and you want to prevent that. I mean, the battle between good and evil is just kind of silly. Should it exist? I guess. Does it have to? Not necessarily. Which is okay, but yeah. Well, what else is there? Order of the Phoenix. Dude, they're Deathly Hallows. They're all out there. They're all good. There's not one bad movie in the bunch. They all have different directors. I actually sat through about 2 hours of bonus footage a while ago, making this clip. A lot of it I pretty much knew, right? Like, special effects, creatures, prosthetics, practical. But yeah, one thing I didn't really take note of before was all the different directors. Like, there's basically a different director for each movie, technically, and it was so cool how they could retain. It's a common thing in the industry, but they could actually retain that flavor and style. But each person's vision, which is cool when you see things like this too, because you're getting what you love, but from a very different point of view. Like once again, I keep mentioning Star Wars. I don't know why. It's Star Wars. I mean, come on. But like, there was like a Star Wars anime not long ago that each episode was done from a different studio, but you saw the same thing, but in a very different light. And that's just more and more perspective. And like, sure, I'm not gonna sit here and like try to understand this whole written world that this person made, or two people, and then became this huge thing. But the reason why I want to understand these things up to a point is like, because these are all the same factors that are put into real life as well. Like, there's other people that have say-sos and can affect your reality and your decision making, and the key is to have a persistent thing going on, whether or not you live in a whole nother place, or you're around whole nother people, or just that whole moving forward thing is really important. I love the movie industry. I wish I would have gotten involved like years ago. I think it looks so fun, and so I think that'd be great to be a part of that process. Because I see all these brilliant people working on these movies, and I'm just like, you know, these guys are geniuses, man. They live in a gorgeous state. You know, no matter what life throws at you, either way, they get to enjoy their job and make movies, and for us, to keep us entertained, distracted from all the crap that's out there. And I can't be thankful more enough. That's part of why I love to really put things like this out there, is to just show my appreciation. That's all I can do. You know, I'm not writing fan mail or liking all their posts or you know, like, I'm not someone who will just spam someone or something, because I don't think that's quite the proper way to, like, to show love. But I just think having good things to say and constructive, positive things, you know, will hopefully reinforce everyone's opinion and learn to love the things that we have. Life is so short, and Harry Potter is one of those things that you don't want to take advantage of. I hope they do more. I hope they keep it going. I hope the actors are doing well, and I'm really happy that it had made such an impact on my life, more than most movies have. But maybe other than Star Wars, it's like, well, you know, you got Lord of the Rings. It's cool. Twilight, I won't even go there. It's just all teenage drama, love bullshit. Yeah, I mean, this is the big one. It's Harry Potter. How much bigger can you get than that? You just can't. Yeah. What's another spell to think of? I don't know, Stupefy and Expecto Patronum are like the only ones I like. Can't think of any. There's all the, I guess there's all the... Oh, I know which one to do. Ridiculous!
Feels strange to be going home, doesn't it? I'm not going home. Not really.